2 heads. Amazing little birds, the guinea fowl. Nice. Let's carry on. Now, Katie, I'm trying to think of the tip of the day for you. I keep forgetting to think about one during the afternoon. I'm going to think about it so long. Jamie's got a small creepy crawly she'd like to show you.
While Byron thinks of his tip of the day, our caterpillar is enjoying the tip of a leaf. I thought that was quite clever, but it actually probably sounded a lot better in my head than it did in real life. Thanks, Fergus. Thank you. And you are sort of obliged to say that, though. Don't feel obliged to say that. Either way, we've got a beautiful caterpillar here. A beautiful and yet a caterpillar that you do not want to touch with your bare skin. Because, of course, all of these hairs around its face, all of these hairs around its body would embed themselves in your skin and cause severe itching and probably almost invariably an outbreak of hives, and they are very, very difficult to get out of your skin once they're in your skin. I know this caterpillar. I've seen this caterpillar before. I know it's a moth, but I cannot for the life of me think which species it is, but it's definitely a moth caterpillar. And usually the moth species caterpillars tend to be quite hairy, quite a lot hairier than the butterfly caterpillars. What is interesting is what it's eating, and it was not the only one. I promise you I saw another one crawling about here somewhere. Fergus and I have decided that there's a sort of inevitability to it now making its way towards him, but I can't see it, Fergus. It's not crawling up your trousers or anything like that. No, it seems to be alright. Definitely not something that you want to happen. What is interesting is what it's feeding on. Silver cluster leaf. And if you cast your mind back to the bushwalks that we did, when was it that we started to see it happen? Was it in December or so? Possibly around December, maybe January, where the silver cluster leaves were being absolutely annihilated by the caterpillars of the migrant butterflies, or vagrant butterflies that come through. And annihilated, I mean there were entire trees that were completely leafless. And it's only in the last month or so that I've noticed that the silver cluster leaf have completely recovered. And now we've got another species feeding off this particular leaf. And it could be a coincidence. It would be interesting to see if we see more of them. But it would be interesting as a way of sort of demonstrating the balance that nature has in terms of utilizing of her resources, and just how well nature gets it right. We, of course, as human beings, are well known for not quite being in sync with that whole cycle, but animals are. And you'll probably find that there is a way, an evolution in a way that has allowed for a species of one caterpillar to feed off one plant, allow that plant to recover, and then the next set of caterpillars to come along, reducing competition different times of the year, and at the same time making sure that the poor tree isn't completely obliterated. Just a thought, an interesting thought. Either way, I'll be keeping an eye out for these caterpillars on the various silver cluster leaves as we go along. I don't know why it's eating a silver cluster leaf. I did that yesterday, and it's a thoroughly unenjoyable experience, is it not, Fergus?
Yeah.
It's horrible.
I couldn't do it again.
No, I wouldn't do that again anytime soon. And it's not like it was the first time I did it either. White triangle staffy? Sassy? White triangle fatty. Did I get that right? I did, okay. White triangle fatty. White triangle fatty. You want to know if bugs poop. They do. They do poop. They poop lots, especially caterpillars. Caterpillars poop what is known as frass, gathered around the base of a tree. Here we go. Here's some caterpillar poop for you. Caterpillar poop, or caterpillar frass, around the bottom of the trees. And there you go. Bugs poop. Not all bugs poop. There are certain bugs that don't poop. Oh, right, I get it, okay. I get it, I completely understand now. White triangle fatty, alright, it's apparently connected to an in-joke. Something that James said on the Sunrise Safari. Apparently he named a butterfly. I wonder which butterfly it was. Something with a white triangle, I assume. But either way, James named a butterfly. Hence the name. I see. Okay, that makes a great deal more sense. Oh, we were talking about bugs that don't poop. There are certain adult forms of insects that don't poop. For example, something like an antlion adult. So the antlions themselves live in their little conical pits, the antlion larvae, and then they metamorphosize into the adults, which are those beautiful winged creatures. Oh, they're beautiful. They look like mottled dragonflies. They don't poop. They actually don't have a complete digestive tract. They don't eat. Their sole purpose once they are an adult is to reproduce, and that is that. But this caterpillar does not share that fate. It will be pooping till the day it dies, most likely. Which is an odd thought and a very odd sentence. Completely unexpected this afternoon. But yes, it will be continuing to poop once it turns into its moth species. Probably quite a big one, judging by the size of this caterpillar. Any of you have ever owned silkworms? Fergus, did you own silkworms as a child?
I ate one once.
You ate a silkworm?
Did, yeah, when I was young.
Oh, gross. It must have been horrible.
No, I haven't done that one again either.
Okay, fair enough, alright. Fergus is listing the many things he would not eat again. Silver cluster leaves and silkworms. I was just going to say that I remember cleaning out my pet silkworm box on a regular basis. But before this conversation descends into the complete absurd, let's go back across to Hosana and see how his duck hunting is going.
I think that conversation turned absurd long ago, which I think is wonderful. It's not a criticism in the slightest. I think the more absurd the conversation, the better. And all of you talking about the white triangle fatty, yes, indeed, most of you, or many of you, including my source of all knowledge, Judy H., managed to correctly identify it as the two-pip policeman, Culeadus pisistratus. Very nice. And then, also, I must just say, if you were watching the drive, Judy H. has very gently scolded me that I pointed out a butterfly before, the white triangle fatty, and in case you were looking at it, it looks nothing like Hosana, and I said it was a common diadem, which it looks like, but actually it was something called Anophis, Amoris ochlea. So if you want to go and look that up, you can. Amaurus ochlea. That's a novice butterfly. Almost certainly what it was. So thank you, Judy H., for your gentle scolding again. I will now scold myself not so gently. There we go. I've beaten myself to within an inch of my life, and now we will watch Hosana. Now what he's done is that he's snuck around the bushes. He spotted some impala up ahead that are sort of slowly making their way down towards Twin Dams to have a drink. He's almost certainly not going to try and hunt one of them in this light. I mean, he'd be really lucky to get a hold of one of these things, but maybe he'll find a youngster that's not very aware this evening before the full moon rises, because I think it is full moon tonight. And that's obviously very poor hunting conditions for a leopard like this. I also managed to spot the ducklings, the white-faced whistling ducklings, and that's almost certainly what he was trying to stalk initially. So the distance there between them is what, I'd say, about 100 meters, probably 150 meters or so, 450 to 500 feet. So there's no ways he's going to make a challenge from here. But between here and there is some cover, there's bits of cover here and there, and he could theoretically get to probably within, I'd say within 100 feet without trying too hard. But as soon as one of them looked up here, they'd spot his little face. And what a perfect little face it is. Miguel, you're wondering about their diet and their development, and whether their current diet of white-faced whistling ducks, terrapins, frogs and various insects affect their development? The answer is not at this stage, no, I don't believe so. I think, as far as I understand it, and I stand to be corrected again, either gently or forcefully, that if you are to suffer a nutritional deficit sort of before puberty and even sort of halfway to puberty, yes, it'll have a lasting effect on your development. But, and I mean that for people and I mean it for animals as well, by this stage he is well into his sort of into puberty basically, and I don't believe that eating what he's eating now is going to harm his development. I don't think at all. Look, it might a little bit if he was to be starved. He doesn't look starved though, so he's eating. He's not eating big pieces of fresh prime cut steak, but he's certainly eating things, be they insects, squirrels, mongoose, fish, frogs, maybe the odd terrapin or two, or ducks. You know, whatever he's eating a fair amount. So he's doing okay. It's not like he looks, there's a wonderful Afrikaans term for this, it's not like he looks skraal. Skraal means kind of what it sounds like, skinny and not very healthy. Now there's the Impala coming this way. That's why he's got up. And his little cat instincts he is unable to contain. I can tell you almost categorically that he's been spotted. No, he hasn't. There was an Impala staring right here. They're going off into the thicket now. Now it's a bachelor group of males, and they don't seem to be. I mean, there's nothing there that I think that all of that's too big for him. I don't think he could take something like that on, unless he was very lucky. And he might be able to get them if they were in the process of right at the middle of the rut, when they had lost condition and they weren't paying any attention. But these guys are in good shape. That's not causing him any sense of now coming just behind them. Sorry, Senzo, we've got some females, and they are smaller. No, there's one female there and some young males. Oh, and now he's been given away by a squirrel. Let's go. Oh, isn't that beautiful? I don't even know where to look. So now we've got the Impala running, and there is the leopard, and just above him a squirrel has started to alarm call. Now those Impala will pick that up. So now he's looking at them longingly. He's salivating at the thought of a fresh... Oh, where on earth is he going? That's not how a leopard hunts, that's how a cheetah hunts. Hold on tight. Did you see where he went? There he is. Yeah, he's going cheetah style, everybody. Now I'm going to have to try and keep my distance, because I don't want to disturb him on his first hunt. He's going straight in front of us, along with 7,000 branches, bushes, trees, holes, rocks. That is fantastic. That really was very special. Yeah, I'm going to have to be very ginger through here, I'm afraid. And I tell you, that's one of the major advantages of the Mara, is that you can drive off-road without sounding like you're running a business. There he is, he's straight in front of us. Without sounding like you're demolishing a building. Hosana, who taught you to do that? Of course, this grass is it's an advantage and a disadvantage. Now, Pradeep, you're wondering if he'd share his kill with his sister. I don't think he'd be that hostile towards her. Would he offer her a piece? No. Would he allow her to feed on it once he had eaten a lot? Yes, he might. Now, I say this grass is an advantage and a disadvantage. You can see why it's both. Of course, the Impala cannot see him. That's the advantage. The disadvantage, of course, is that he can't see nothing either. He can't see over the top of the grass. Megan, you say, do the impalas know he's too small to take them down? No. If they saw him, they'd alarm call. Even those big males would be afraid. He's got up, he's moving. But now he's got to guess where they are. He's got to smell. He's got to listen and try and sort of figure out where they've gone. Isn't that wonderful? I love the colour of the three-horn grass with the leopard walking through it. It's beautiful. And you're all, of course, discussing the baby impala that he caught the other day. So, I mean, he has killed antelope. I wonder if he did it cheetah style like this. You know, who am I to tell him how to hunt? I've never killed a baby impala. You see him, Senzo? He went just behind these bushes here. I'm going to go around a bit. I don't want to go directly where he went for fear of running him over. It might be time to leave him to his own devices. Are we looking for moving grass, flicking tail, spot? You cannot believe how quickly these... Oh, there he is. He's miles in front of us. He's just in front there. Alright, there he is. Let's go across to Jamie. She is knocking about somewhere. I'm not sure what she's looking at, but let's go and find out if she's managed to feed Fergus anything approximating a silkworm.
Approximating a what? I didn't quite get that. A silkworm. Oh yes, there we go, I got it. No, I haven't fed Fergus anything approximating a silkworm. I offered him the caterpillar, but funnily enough, Fergus wasn't having any of it, were you, Fergus? Probably a wise decision. So we're just looking at the sun and gauging how much light we have left. I'd say we've probably got another 15 minutes or so. So plenty of time, but it does mean that we have to move ourselves out of that river system and start to stroll in the direction of home. Now I've got a whole load of spots in front of my eyes from staring at the sun. Sure. I was just thinking about the sheer diversity of plant life that we get out here. I was reading a study that said that it's recent, it's only just come out, and it was part of I think it might actually have been a botanical garden study that was completed. But either way, they've done this massive study counting every single species of tree, and they've come to the conclusion that there are 60,065 trees in the entire world, which I was actually quite surprised by. Fergus and I had a conversation about this earlier. I kind of expected the number to be slightly higher, but that's what it is, 665, and I suppose that's actually quite a lot when you think about each and every single individual species. And it's led to me trying to work out and just do a rough count in my head of how many species of trees we just see regularly out here, and it must top 100. I would say, here within just this particular part of the Sabi Sand, and that's not even including places that you go where, for example, you get down to the Sabi River or the Sand River or something somewhere around there. No, that's a huge amount. 60,065 trees. Most of which, no, not most of which, the country with the highest number of trees is Brazil in South America. And not only that, but it has an enormous number of endemic species, so species that are only found there. The same goes for quite a lot of our plant species, particularly in Cape Town, but Brazil even more so, which gives us another reason to really truly be concerned about the amount of deforestation that happens in those sorts of areas. And we're just losing we're just losing so much in terms of diversity, and the more diversity you have with plant life, the more insects, the more birds, the more everything. Sorry, I just caught a whiff of something. I think it's just this elephant dung. Much harder than I expected it to be. That's how hot it's been today. Because that elephant dung, that's from last night, I would say. And that's how hot it's been, that it's already dried up and crusted all around the edge. Not even the dung, no more dung beetles. Tragic. Very, very sad. There are no more dung beetles. There's something... An oxpecker. Oxpecker just came out of there. I know that Byron was looking at buffalo somewhere around here. I don't know where exactly he was looking at buffalo. I don't see any tracks, so I'm not too worried. And luckily the wind has died down. Oh, Twin Dams itself. Twin Dams. And that's absolutely fine. We're miles away from that. Or at least a mile away from that. But that's actually one of the reasons why we went down into that drainage system. Was because I knew that today there was absolutely no chance of approaching anything like an elephant or a buffalo. Not that we often approach buffalo on foot, or anything really, just because the wind was inevitably going to give us away. It's been swirling around all afternoon, and it's died down a little bit, but it's still gusting around. So we needed to be extra specially careful on our walk this afternoon, and we still do. What's confusing me about this wind is it's coming from the northeast, which is very unusual. Okay, it is swirling, but usually most of our wind, and the wind that brings the rain, comes from the south. I guess it must just be that time of year, that time of change of season, that's causing the sudden change or disappearance, or sudden change in wind direction. No storm clouds, nothing. I guess it really just is change of season. And all of these dried up mud wallows like this one, soon to be no more. Soon all of the mud wallows that we've spent today wondering about and enjoying, searching for frogs and insects and all sorts of things, soon those are all going to be gone as well. This elephant dung's a bit fresher. That's from the middle of the day. Were there elephants on the Djuma Dam camera this afternoon? Or at some point in the middle of the day? Those of you who've been watching the Djuma Dam camera, if you could let me know. They're going away from where we're going though. Unfortunately, we're definitely not going to be walking elephants this afternoon. They're all going south towards Twin Dams. And just while we're strolling along, don't forget you can always send through your questions on #SafariLive on Twitter. For example, if you would like to know how Fergus managed to avoid falling over that pile of elephant poo, well, I would as well. So while I ask him, I'll send you back over to James to find out what he's up to.
Hosana is about to cross to the south, I'm afraid. There he is. Crossing the road. Oh, he's now on the road, on the little fire break. And he's thinking about going south. He stopped his cheetah attack. We got a good look at how thin he is now. He's not fat. He's not looking in wonderful shape, but he's not too bad. He's skinnier than I thought he was. His hips are not looking great. Come on, young fellow. You just need one big meal and you'll be okay. Where is his mother? Yes, Larry, almost certainly. You say, would a leopard respond to a recorded playback if we've got a flat tire? Well, right. Yes, lions certainly respond to recorded playbacks of other lions. and I think leopards would do the same. Especially if it was a stranger. They can hear the difference between the different animals that call in their areas. So he would almost definitely be able to hear the difference between his mother's call and his father's call. Whether he'd acknowledge Tingana as his father or not, I don't know. But that call of Tingana's would be familiar to him. He would know it from the area. I think he's going to go to the south, unfortunately. It's not that unfortunate. I mean, we're coming up on sunset, and I think for a young leopard that is vulnerable like this, it'd be best to let him hunt alone at night. He's been very, very good to us this afternoon. Going up onto the termite mound for a vantage. We might get a last view of him here. Yeah, using the termite mound to see what he might be able to catch from here. Just keep going, boy. I promise you will eventually find something nice to eat. There he sits. Magnificent fellow. He's hearing things constantly, you know. And at least he's not lying down, sort of not trying to hunt. He's making a big effort to try and hunt. Well, Jan, in Washington, you say, how does Hosana know where to go? Well, I'm not sure that he does. I think he's walking a fairly random path at the moment, looking for something to eat, hoping for something to eat, hoping something that he'd like to eat comes across his path. He's just walking through areas that his mum used to take him to. They used to walk through these areas quite frequently. What's he spotted? There's quite a favourite Impala haunt not far from here, just inside Little Gari, which is the reserve to the south of us. Just, yeah, exactly where Senzo's pointing the camera. What I'm going to do is shift these slightly forward, just so that if he does move, I don't have to move again, if you know what I mean. So we won't disturb him if he does move. There we go. Now that's a perfect place for a leopard to be, especially as the light starts to fade. Mario, you say, what's cheetah style as opposed to leopard style? Cheetah style is a long coursing run after an animal. So a cheetah on a clearing will chase its prey. It'll course it down, so it'll chase it over about a quarter of a mile normally, or often, at full speed in the open. And it uses its speed rather than stealth to catch its prey, which is a little bit like what Hosana looked like he was doing there. A leopard style is to sneak very close to within sort of 20 meters, 10 meters sometimes, so 30 feet or 60 feet, and then pounce from there. So it's a much more stealthy approach to prey than it is a coursing attack like the cheetah will make. So when I saw him dart off like that, running after the impala, that looked much more cheetah-ish than it did leopardish. Leopardish and cheetah-ish are not words, of course. I made them up. Interesting, he's got a very definite nick in his left ear, which he's probably had for some time. On the top of his left ear. So our right. And that's quite interesting. Other ear. Other left, Senzo. That's the one. He's now, of course, embarrassed by it, so he's hidden it. There it is. I think he's had it for a while, but I wonder what happened to him. That looks like a bite to me. Could have even been his sister, I suppose. things are getting beautifully quiet again. It's one of those times of the day. I described a few of them this morning. I said there was the dawn, which had that air of expectation, then the energy kind of changes at about 8 o'clock in the morning, and then it stays like it has. Well, then you get this sort of lead up in the afternoon, the late afternoon, and now the sunset, and we have a change in the energy again. The expectation starts to build, starts to rise. Now, I believe Byron has had a tremendous amount of success of late. He is going to show you, I think, some air.
James, hang on. Something's happening around here. Listen to this, everybody. Just listen for a second. Do you hear that? That's a kudu, alarm calling. Now, they've spotted something in this area, and I think it's a leopard. I'm just trying to find it. So we look in this thick bush at the moment. There's a giraffe around here too. Here's the kudu over here. Hang on, I'll show you. There it is. So they've seen something, but I'm just trying to find what it is. And the grass is so long at the moment. I wonder if they didn't see a young leopard, perhaps. But remember, we were actually speaking about this earlier when I said which animals would alarm call that I would think they've definitely seen something. And this kudu is almost a definite indicator that there is a predator. It's very upset. It's been alarm calling for a while, but those are serious alarm calls. That loud bark, that bow, it's an amazing sound that they make. But I cannot find anything. There's actually two other vehicles. These alarm calls are so loud they can be heard from quite a distance away. There are two other vehicles here now that are also having a look. They were barking and looking in this direction. Unfortunately, this is dark territory. We're not allowed there. it's unfortunately just across our border. But I'll just have a look. We're very close to the Djuma cut line, and this is Chitwa off to our left. I don't see anything. I don't see any tracks either of anything. I don't know. You know what? There's a little pan of water down the road. Let's go have a look there. Maybe whatever it is has moved through down to that area. Maybe the kudu or just possibly still smell it. So I'm not sure. Let's have a look. But interesting. There's definitely something that's walked through this area. It's very exciting. It is always exciting when you get these alarm calls. You know there's something around. So it's just a case of finding it. So let's look carefully. I'm checking the trees. I'm having a look through this long grass. Usually when if there is a predator around, if it is alarm called regularly like that, like by those kudu, they will choose to move away because it gives away their position. And they don't like it. The predators don't like, especially leopard. Karen, now good question. You said, why wouldn't the kudu just run? So Karen, what happens is, let's just have a look here quickly. So Karen, what happens is, if the kudu just run, if it's a predator like lion or leopard, if they just run, they lose sight of it. So what they do is, they prefer to keep an eye on the predator, alarm call, warn each other, and then what they do is they then they'll follow the predator. If it's lion and leopard, they'll follow them, and they'll keep barking, and that alarm call will hopefully push the predator away, or it could potentially also just make sure that they keep an eye on the predator. They don't have that ambush advantage. So as long as the prey species, so Kudu, Impala do it too, they'll keep an eye on it, they'll walk after an alarm call and make sure they keep an eye on that predator. So that's why they don't run away. Now there is an Impala out in front. Bobby, they would definitely alarm call if there were wild dogs. I'm just having a look. The Impala here out on the clearing, they look quite relaxed, and this is very open. So I don't think whatever the predator was that the Kudu saw, I don't think they would have come this way. So I'm going to do another loop around. Let's see, maybe we come across something else on the road. So yeah, the Kudu would alarm call at wild dog, but not as frantically as leopard or lion. Also, generally, Kudu tend to be a little bit big for wild dog. Kudu won't necessarily just stand around with wild dog. With wild dog, the predator, or the prey rather, react differently. They'll run away because the wild dog are not ambush predators, they're persistent hunters. So they run very, very quickly and they run down their prey. So the thing is, they've got to be so careful with just standing around and watching wild dog. They've got to actually run away. So Impala actually generally don't alarm call at all. If they see wild dog, they'll just run. And they might give one or two snorts and run and disappear. Let's have a look around here. Come on. There's got to be something here. Can't let James be owned. I do think it was a leopard that is Kudu saw. And who? I do not know. I haven't seen any tracks anywhere. But again, the grass is so long. We just need to keep checking this area carefully, I suppose, because if there is... Oh, there's a little track over there. Let's follow that. If there is any sign of a predator around here, then I'm sure there's a giraffe. See, there's that giraffe up ahead. As I was saying, if there's any sign of a predator around here, it could potentially pop out at any time. See, the giraffe is still staring in this direction. Now, I wonder if they can actually see the predator, or if they're just staring in that direction because that's where the Kudu were alarm calling. Now you need to remember, giraffe also quite curious, and if they see a predator, they'll watch it. They will have a good look at it. And try keep an eye out for it. I'm just scanning the trees a little bit too. I know some of you might be sitting there and hoping it's Karula. Now, wouldn't that be wonderful? Let's have a look. I know she hasn't been seen for a while, so... Craig, you keeping your eyes peeled? I'm trying to rely on every little clue I can find out here at the moment, and for the moment it's obviously the Kudu alarm calls came from this area. Also the giraffe staring in this area. All those are signs that there must be something around. Now, if there's a leopard that's decided to lie flat in this long grass, unless we just about drive on over it, we're not going to see it. Alright, okay, let me have a look around this area a bit longer. Let's head back to Jamie. I'll find out how her walk's going.
Fingers crossed that those alarm calls actually turn into something really exciting. I'm not sure where Byron is, but it does sound like the anticipation is high on that side of things. In the meantime, our walk is slowly but surely winding down, and it's always a nice way to finish with our favorite wildebeest herd. And of course, this time of the night, and you've seen they've become so used to us on foot that they're not in any way bothered by us. But this time of the night is when wildebeest become probably their most playful, and they start to do all sorts of interesting things, chase each other around, roll in the sand. Lots and lots of rolling happening on the left there, with all of the young ones enjoying a little bit of a dust bath. And I even saw, in the sort of highest expression of high spirits, I even saw one of the youngsters chase the Impala herd around for a little bit. That's one thing about wildebeest. They might not be the brightest sparks out here, and I mean, again, who am I to judge their intelligence? But they certainly don't come across as the brightest sparks in the world, but they are highly, highly entertaining. And they're playful. They've got personalities of their own. That's one of the reasons why they've sort of been termed the clowns of the bush. And it's just because they enjoy a good hop, skip, and a jump every now and again. And particularly at this time of year, when the females are in estrus, there's a lot of stuff happening. The males are chasing them around. And all in all, it's basically one giant excuse for the youngsters to play. And we've seen them run round and round and round in circles before. They can be thoroughly entertaining. Hey, Wildies, one of my goals is to actually go and sit in the sort of, not now, definitely not now, because now would be a bit silly. One of my goals is to go and sit on a termite mound and at them. Although I think Herbie does it better. Herbie's just been having a full-blown conversation with the wildebeest. Haven't you, Herbie? He snorts at them and then they snort back at him. Either way, I want to try and do what I've done in the past, which is get the wildebeest to come right up to me, because they're actually quite curious, in a way, in a very myopic kind of a way. And they'll come, we might be able to get them to come right up to us. We'll have to try it one day. One day when we've got time. Haha. Go and sit on a termite mound and get them to come up to us. Could be highly entertaining. Yeah, no, they're not bothered at all by us anymore. And welcome to Tokoloshi Twit, who on the subject of African countries would like to know if I could go to one African reserve in Africa, obviously, where would I go? It's a really difficult one. If I had to only choose one, that's crazy. I don't think I could only choose one. There's too many exciting places to go and visit. I do have this dream of going across to Ethiopia. That's one of the places I'd really like to go and see their red wolves, or the Ethiopian wolf, which is of course the continent's most endangered carnivore. And perhaps, who knows, find the nightjar, the famous one-wing specimen that was found once. It's caused great commotion in the ornithology world and in the scientific world, because they only ever found one wing of this bird, and there was a great deal of argument as to whether or not you can classify a separate species, only having seen no intact individuals, no alive individuals, one wing, with some interesting markings on it. So perhaps that's where I would go if I had to choose. But jeepers, what a difficult question. Zambia, the Congo one day, Chad one day. Love to go to Chad and explore those sorts of areas. There are too many places in Africa to explore. And of course, one of the best ways to explore is on foot, which is exactly what we have done this afternoon. It's been a beautiful afternoon of some of the littler things. However, it is getting dark, and I'm going to hand you into the very capable hands of Byron and James for the remainder of your safari.
Thank you, Jamie. Now, capable hands is a strong word because I can't seem to find whatever that predator was that those kudu were alarm calling at. And it's so frustrating. There's something here. I know it. I just can't find it. But I'm still checking. I'm not going to give up just yet because I'm hoping it's decided to maybe move around, whatever it was. Trying to have a look to see if I find any tracks here. Nothing just yet. I'm going to head back down to the dam though. Let's just see. Chris, I've never heard a giraffe alarm call, but I think they do make like a blowing sound, like a kind of, but not like.
Alright, we're going to have one very last look at Hosana. I'm sorry about the crash cut. That's what we call that when we lose signal on another vehicle and suddenly you find me, this time semi-prepared for it. Let's have one last look over there and I'll explain to you why we're going to leave him. He's fast asleep, so he's not, well, he's sort of fast asleep. No, he's fast asleep. I've lulled him to sleep with my boring voice. And so he's going to snooze there. And I don't want to disturb him. It's going to get dark. It's going to be an ideal time in about 10 minutes for him to go hunting. It would be grossly unfair for us to follow this leopard on the hunt at this stage of his life, because we'd make too much noise. So unless we could do it in an electric vehicle with a thermal camera, it wouldn't be fair. So although he may well sleep here for another 2 hours or so, I think we need to let him get a handle on the world without our presence so that he can go off and do the hunting that he needs to do. Good grief, we have a question from Rainbow, whose age is just 3 years old. Rainbow, you say, does this kitty like to be petted? No, Rainbow, you can't pet this cat. He's too big, and he's too strong, and he's too wild. He's a wild cat. You can't pet him, Rainbow. He doesn't look very wild now, does he? But because we are standing away from him and we're not going near him, he's not so wild. But if you go anywhere near him, Rainbow, he will go wild. So you can't pet a leopard. Okay, that's going to be it. Oh, wait, hang on a second. And Audrey, as you're 12 years old, and you know this is the third kind of question we've had about a similar topic. I said a while back that human beings hate to be alone. We don't, well, we like it sometimes, just for a little while, but then we get lonely. We get horribly lonely, don't we, Audrey? You will know that, and especially as you go into your teenage years, you will feel it even more, I imagine. A leopard, quite unlike a human being, does not feel that same sense of loneliness. They like to be alone. They want to be alone. They don't like to be around other leopards, unless they are mating or unless a mother is with her cubs. It's a good question, Audrey, and it's a difficult one for us to understand because, of course, we are the opposite. All right, let's leave little Hosana to sleep on his termite mound. Let's wish him the best of luck and hope that by the end of the evening he's managed to catch himself something substantial to eat. I'm going to go with steenbok. I think that would be a nice meal for him. It will be a very bad night for the steenbok. Well, that's just how it goes if you happen to be the steenbok. Now I'm trying to find out where Byron is because I thought I might give him a hand with those alarm calls. So if he would like a hand, I shall ask Kirsten to tell him that I am available. If not, oh, he's at Chitwa Dam. No, there's no ways we can go and help him there because we're only allowed one person at Chitwa at a time. We will go to Treehouse Dam in the meantime. Right, Baron has managed to find himself some more signal at Chitwa Dam. Let's go and find out if there's an animal to go with the signal.
James, there is. We managed to find a beautiful African fish eagle. We are at the Chitwa Dam, where we were sitting when we heard those alarm calls earlier. But look at those clearings. There's an abundance of wildlife there. Impala, Waterbuck. Oh, there's warthogs right at the back there. No. So just a lot of Impala and Waterbuck around there. And the wonderful sound of the hippo. There they are. Trying to see if they call again. I'm also just listening out. Maybe we hear some more alarm calls. It's nice just to sit quietly for a while. I'm so frustrated about those kudu. I mean, there we go. I know they definitely saw something. But unfortunately, it was just too thick for us and we couldn't find it. Whatever it was. That's the way it goes sometimes. Perhaps we are owed a leopard or lion sighting tomorrow, perhaps. We shall see. It's actually such a nice afternoon now. Beautiful temperature. And I'm just scanning around. See what else there is. But lovely cool temperature now. Wonderful sounds. Birds, the red-billed buffalo weavers in front of us over there are calling, and there are village weavers to the back quite far. They are calling. H. Macy, you say you don't think you've ever heard a hippo before, and this is the first time. Well, that's great. We're very fortunate having access to this beautiful Chitwa Dam, because there are a lot of hippo, and there are big crocodiles in here too. And it's a stunning area, a really beautiful area. And to sit, especially in the afternoons like this, late afternoon, we get to see and hear all these hippo. They get very, very active around this time of the day. And look at that whole group of guinea fowl that have just come out onto the road. Now, Brittany, hippos cannot kill an alligator because, and I'm just being technical now, I'm only joking with you, but alligators are obviously not found in Africa. They're only found in North America. They can, however, kill crocodiles. If a crocodile comes close to a hippopotamus, then there is a possibility that the hippo could react. And a hippo has got huge, powerful jaws, and they might be able to kill a crocodile. But usually, the two tolerate one another because they live in the same habitat. They coexist basically, so they don't disturb each other very much. Hippo generally stay away from the crocodiles, and the crocodiles definitely stay away from the hippo because the hippo are very powerful. They've got huge teeth, big mouths, and they could cause some serious damage if they do find a crocodile coming too close to them. Vicky in Wisconsin, just give me a second. I'm going to get to your question now. I'm just trying to listen very carefully. Oh, I can hear guinea fowl alarm calling now. Come on, I've got to find this predator. I'm sure there's a predator somewhere around here. I'm just scanning. Oh, there are a few of them calling. I'm scanning. Just stick with us a little bit. Let's see. Starting to lose light. Vicky in Wisconsin, all the way from Wisconsin. Your question, Kirst, what was the rest of the question again? If you could just give it to me again, please. Hippo out the water, that's right. So, Vicky, yes, we do indeed. So, the hippo go out and they feed on the grass in the clearings. They feed on the clearings and mainly in the evenings. So, you see, they almost look like they're starting to move out. I wonder if we'll get to see them. That'll be great. But they do. They move out as the evening starts, and they'll go off and feed, and they'll graze at night, and then return to the water a few hours later. So yes, and also, Vicky, in winter. So hopefully in winter when we come down to this dam, we might get to see these hippo basking on the banks of the waterhole of this dam, because it is much colder then. So they will try and bask in the sun to warm up. Again, this guinea fowl were alarm calling very far away. But I don't see anything. I don't see any sign of an animal out there, unless it was just a guinea fowl possibly returning to the trees for the evening. And here we go. So earlier I mentioned the two animals that I would rely on the most for alarm calls, and the one being guinea fowl, which we've just heard, and the other one being kudu, which we heard earlier. I'm yet to find the predator that they've been alarm calling at, but I do think there's something around here. We might still find it on our way out. I'll do another little loop and just see if we can't have any luck. You never know. You never know. While we are here, though, now Envy, the hippos can stay underwater for about it's about 7 or 8 minutes that they can stay under. So they can stay under for quite some time. However, they generally will stay under for anywhere between 2 or 4 minutes, and then come up again for air. But they can stay under for about 7 or 8 minutes if they really want to. Now, tip of the day, I can't remember who. It was Katie. I think you asked for the tip of the day. So just a quick one. I think what's very important is when you are on safari, or if you're heading out on safari, I would recommend getting 2 books. And because often when you're looking up animals or you want to learn something quickly, there's plenty of books you can get, but take 2 books with you and little field guides. One is a mammal's field guide. This helps a lot. Obviously, just when you're identifying the animals, maybe your guide has pointed something out and you want to see the difference between some of the antelope species. Usually guides carry a book with them, but it's nice just to have a mammal book handy. And the other one is just a bird book. Any bird book, but a bird book is very, very important, I think, when you want to maybe have a look at those birds a little bit closer, if you've seen some fly past or you want to read up about them if they migrate. Like I say, sometimes the guides do have the books with them, but if they don't, it's always nice to have your own book with you. But 2 books, bird book and a mammal book, and that's it. I think that's a nice little handy tip if you are on a safari, or if you do head out on safari. Hopefully you all do. Okay, I'm going to move on from the dam. We're losing light. Let's head back to my dear friend James and see if he's found anything else this afternoon.
I haven't found anything else, but I have found a severe case of sense of humour failure on account of the fact that Byron advertised 2 books that you should take on holiday with you, neither of which were authored by yours truly, which means that Byron can no longer be my friend. sad state of affairs, but sometimes you just have to let things go. Reached that point now. It's just the way it is. Sorry, Byron. Hope you don't mind. It's your fault. Brought it upon yourself. We're arriving at Treehouse Dam now. And there is not a great deal here as far as I can see. No. Nothing at all. Not so much as not a great deal. There is nothing. Oh, apparently there's a beautiful reflection. I'm being instructed by the demigod in the final control. Let us reverse and observe the beautiful reflection. It is at a time like this that one craves a small apple juice. Perhaps from the Isle of Skye. As the last birds of the day give their call, typically a few doves and the crested francolin. But otherwise all is silent. And I have been surprised, I must say, this year by how warm it has remained throughout well, I guess we're not very far into April, are we? We're sort of 2 weeks into April. So that's quite interesting. But I seem to remember being in a light jersey by this time last year. Maybe that will only happen in May. Isn't that pretty? Now, I was asked during our school drive, which some of you may or may not have seen, why did I come out here? Why? What made me want to be a field guide? And so many people ask that question, probably expecting an answer, well, I've always loved animals, or leopards have always been my favourite thing in the world, or I've always loved ants and termites and wanted to find out more sort of deeply about their relationship and interactions. And the answer simply is this right here. The very first time that I touched or was touched by wilderness, it was around about this time of the day. And how old was I? I must have been about 15 or 16, I guess. And it was just outside Johannesburg City, around about this time of the day. And I felt that quiet for the first time. And I thought, wow, that's something. Not something that you get a lot of in Johannesburg. Marvellous. On we go. And Cheryl, you say it's absolutely beautiful. That it is. It is beautiful, and it is also peaceful. And it is calming. And no matter what tensions there might be in your life, they dissipate on sighting a scene like we have just witnessed. Now the search for night creatures commences. Thank you, Sally, in Oregon. You say you have a couple of my books and you don't remember seeing a field guide. Well, there isn't a field guide, Sally. But Byron is not supposed to be advertising other people's books. I mean, they should take my books on holiday for reading. Wealth of completely useless information in them. But yes, I would agree with him. Field guide, bird field guide if you like birds. Of course, the most important item of any kind to take on a safari is a pair of binoculars. Do not go on safari without a pair of binoculars. Probably 75% of the people I ever guided didn't bring binoculars with them, which meant that they either broke mine or they couldn't see anything for most of the time that they were with me. And it's just, of course you see a bird flying across the the road and you say, oh, look, a white-crowned shrike, and everybody wants to see it, and so they, you know, you hand back your binoculars and 6 people fight over them and beat each other over the head in an attempt to get at them, and they become deeply frustrated by it. So binoculars, the most important thing to bring on safari. If you ever come out here, do not arrive without a pair of decent binoculars. They don't have to be exceptional, just something that you can see through and magnify the world. Byron says he gave that tip already. Well, of course he did. He's a safari guide par excellence. I was just reminding you. The next thing you must bring is a jersey, especially if you're coming out any time between now and September. The amount of money that these lodge curio shops or gift shops make of guests who arrive in Africa thinking Africa is hot all the time, the amount of money that they make selling fleeces, woolly jumpers, woolly hats, socks, gloves, scarves, pants, various other winter accoutrements is quite astounding. It probably rivals the amount of money they make off people staying in their beds. It was always very funny to watch people arrive, and then they'd arrive sort of midday in the aeroplane, and it'd be warm, sort of 24 degrees Celsius outside, 75 odd Fahrenheit, and they'd think, oh, this is gorgeous. They'd arrive with a small bag or an enormous bag, and there'd be nothing in that bag of any warmth. And after their first evening game drive, where they'd got hypothermia, they'd be into the shop like a shot, and they'd be buying up a storm, and then buying another bag to take all this stuff home with. It can get pretty chilly out here. What is the third thing I would suggest you pack in your safari bag? Well, one must always bring clean underpants, of course. One doesn't ever want to go travelling without a good change of clean underpants. Good. Let's head back across to Byron. I think he's headed back from Chitwa in the eastern parts of Djuma, and with any luck he might find one of the royal family there.
I think I have indeed, James. I found a leopard. Finally. Not the leopard we were looking for, I don't think. I'm not sure. I think this is possibly Hosana. This was the area that James had him in earlier. So I think this is perhaps Hosana. There we go. I don't want to shine the spotlight directly. Do you want infrared? Can I go infrared? Ah, there we go. Look at that. Infrared. That's impressive. That's wonderful. Oh, beautiful. What a lovely surprise. I cannot see clearly which leopard this is, but I think it is possibly that young male. There's long grass, and it's quite far from the vehicle, so it's a bit difficult for me to tell, especially now it's dark. I can't see anything there unless I look a little bit on the screen, but sometimes it's difficult for us. That's lovely. This is really great. So finally, and Craig was just shouting at me, he said I didn't find him anything exciting on the drive. He forgot about the snake. I thought the snake was great. It's wonderful with this infrared because we're not disturbing it. And this young leopard would still be able to move through the long grass and stalk. If it was perhaps looking for something like a scrub hare, that would be great for a leopard now, especially a young leopard. A little scrub hare, nice little snack, a little meal. Yeah. But look how well it's hidden in that long grass. See, and that's why, I mean, fortunately with the spotlights at night I picked up on the eyes, but during the day I think if we were driving past it might have been very difficult to spot that leopard. in that long grass. I mean, really well hidden in there. Chris, you say you think it is Hosana. Like I said, it's this is the area. I mean, we're just up the road from Twin Dams, where James did have this young male leopard earlier. So I think it is that one. But it is just wonderful to find a leopard, any leopard, at night, and to see what they get up to. If you're lucky, you might get a bit of activity from them. See them moving around, possibly trying to pounce on something in the long grass, or stalk impala or anything if they are around. I didn't see anything around when we arrived, so... It's lovely. I do think, though, what I am going to do is I think I'm going to leave this young leopard. James spent a wonderful afternoon with it. And I don't know, part of me, I'm not worried about these young leopards, but, I'd like to give them a bit of space when we can, because we know they're struggling to hunt. They are picking bits and pieces here and there, but they need to try and eat, so... I prefer to give them a bit of space if we have had the opportunity to see them for a while. I'm sure most of you would agree. So I think we'll leave this young leopard, let him carry on with his business for the evening, and hopefully he manages to catch something substantial to eat, whether it be a scrub hare or perhaps a young antelope, a young impala. That would be an ideal meal for it. But lovely surprise. That was great. There we go. Craig, you happy? But I think, like I say, let us move on and leave that young leopard. Oof. Can't see Craig. I've just been hit with infrared, everybody. Let's see what else we can find now. I heard some owls calling earlier. Little scops owls. Pearl-spotted owls. Pearl-spotted owls, there's a lot. Thanks, Craig. Just feel like a deer in the headlights sometimes. So maybe we can find one of those little owls, or a chameleon, or a scorpion, or a snake. And I say snakes because those snakes have been active the last day or so. So they are out for some reason. Possibly because the temperature's been quite warm, maybe a little bit more active, trying to get some food before they end up going and hibernating for a short period of time. So perhaps that is why they have been so active. Lovely temperature now. I love this cool breeze. I'm really looking forward to winter. It's such a lovely time of year in the bush. And even though it can get quite cold in the mornings and in the evenings on drive, but the mornings especially, but it is still really, really great. The coldest I've ever got on game drive has been in the Kalahari. It gets very cold out there. Well, for South Africans, it gets very cold. And you can get temperatures down to 5 degrees or minus 5 degrees Celsius, which is rather cold when you're in an open game drive vehicle, especially with that wind chill factor. It does make it quite unpleasant for a while. So usually what I do is I bandage myself up with the scarves and gloves and hoodies and beanies and all the rest and jackets, and then I don't speak to the guests for the first hour of drive. I just drive, and if we see something I point. It's too cold to talk. I'm only joking, I'm not that bad. Bobby, so a lot of the lodges, and I mean there are a number of different lodges around, but there's a little scorpion. Oh, just gone in. Let's see if I can get it out quickly. I wonder if you use infrared, perhaps. Craig, you might actually. Let's try that quickly. Bobby, your question, yes, there are a lot of lodges around that do have air conditioning, especially some of the larger lodges. They some of the slightly more expensive ones, but they do have air conditioning, so don't worry about the heat. Let's see, just in here, let's see if that little scorpion comes out. You see it? See the pincers? There we go. Try to get him out quickly. Do you see that? How quick it is? They come out, they use their pincers, they try and grab a little insect. So all that scorpion thought, that was nice. He came out quite nicely there. Did you get him, Craig? Yeah. Good. Very, very quick little scorpion. A Pistacanthus asper, which is a tree creeping scorpion. That's what that was. That was great. Nice little spot of scorpion there. Now, so they rely on their pincers to come out and grab any prey which might be walking out or just outside the hole. They pick up on the vibrations. That's just with that little piece of grass. It thought it was an insect, but they're very fast, and then they shoot back into the hole. But that was great. Nice little sighting of a scorpion. Okay, let's see what else we can find. In the meantime, let's head back to James and see how his book sales are coming along.
What I want to show you is how beautifully this tree is lit up. I just think that's quite special. Isn't that nice? I think that's gorgeous. And that, of course, in the absence of any animal life to show you. This, of course, the famous Balanites tree out of which Brent Leo Smith plummeted during a TV rehearsal. And luckily for him, he is built of athletic stuff, and so he didn't hurt himself. Most of the rest of us would have snapped a bone. Let's continue. I'm afraid I have not found chameleon, bush baby, civet, serval, genet, any of those things that we try tirelessly to find once the sun has gone down. Leopard, maybe. We have had a lot of leopard luck today, right? So I'm not feeling hardly done by. It is amazing how quickly these game drives go as well when you have got something like a leopard, because your focus just turns from sort of this constant searching to utter devotion to this phenomenal creature that's in front of you. Now I'm going with the stealth approach on the way home today. I'm driving very slowly, covering not a huge amount of ground, in the hopes that this might bring some nighttime fruit. Oh, Megan, you say, are there lodges in the bush where kids are allowed? Well, Megan, you know, when about 2002, the company I worked for decided that this policy of not having kids in lodges was ridiculous, because people like to travel with their families. And that has almost universally been accepted. There are some camps, so let's take Londolozi for example. If you go to Londolozi, you can take your kids, absolutely. There's a cub's den where the kids will be looked after by a specialist who will teach them things about the bush. They can go on special walks and drives and that sort of thing. But then there are parts of Londolozi that don't take kids. So, I mean, if you're on honeymoon, for example, you can go to a piece of the camp that is child-free. So they've got both. Most camps, however, will take kids. The only thing with kids is that a game drive, as all of you well know, is not always full of action. So, I mean, there's a certain amount of driving around, looking and seeking, and then looking at birds and trees and flowers and that sort of thing. That's a dikop in front of us that I just don't want to run down. And so if a child is not particularly interested in the wild, and I wasn't when I was sort of between 6 and 12 years old, then it's just a little bit of a waste. But I think, you know, it just depends on your child. If your child is fascinated by the bush and fascinated by all things nature, then yeah, any time after 6 I think is a good time. You can take a child younger than 6 on safari. Normally you'll have to book a private vehicle, because to expect other guests to put up with a 6-year-old or a 5-year-old, and because they will inevitably get bored during the course of a 4-hour game drive. Well, you can book a private vehicle and you can do that sort of thing, and that's fine. But I would suggest, I mean, obviously you all know your kids far better than I would ever know them. I think that 10 is about the limit at which I would take a child on a sort of expansive safari experience. I think around about 10 years old is when they will start to really appreciate it. Of course, we have lots of young viewers who fall into the category of young naturalists who would be fascinated to come on safari now and be interested in all sorts of different things. But I think that's quite rare. I've been on a number of safaris where parents have brought their kids, and no matter what you try, you know, unless there's sort of wild action going on, it's very difficult to keep them entertained for 3 hours at a time. But lodges certainly will take kids, and they're very good with kids. Right, we're going to do one foray onto quarantine. If I can find the road, I think it is just over here. I think I'd never been there. There we go. Find over there. Now, Star Kid, you were one of those unfortunate people who've got terrible allergies, and you say, would you struggle on safari? It depends on the time of year, Star Kid, and it depends entirely on what you're allergic to. If you're allergic to pollen, if you avoid sort of any time between say November and now, then you should be okay. If you're allergic to dust, I would avoid any time between now and November, in the first rains. I don't think there are a huge number of allergens out here. I have I'm quite allergic to various things. I get a bit of a snuffly nose every so often. But I mean, grass pollen is going to be your major issue, and that'll be around from the first rains until around about now. So I would try and avoid those times of the year, but otherwise, no, I think it'd be alright. I don't think there's a huge amount of allergen in the way, and certainly any lodge you go to will look after any food allergy you have. And if the lodge you want to go to doesn't offer that sort of service, there are plenty that will. Kitchens at these places are tremendously sophisticated. They'll give you pillows that are non-allergenic. They'll give you mattresses that are non-allergenic. So I think you should be fine. And I really think that your allergies should be the very last thing that prevents you coming on safari. This is not a particularly allergenic area, and certainly people who have allergies in South Africa, in the Cape they really struggle because, well, there's a lot of pollen around, I guess. When the wind blows, there's fungus because it never gets dry in the winter. But people who have allergies come often to live in a place like the Lowveld because it's dry, and that tends to get rid of a lot of the allergies that people have, unless you have a dust allergy, of course. Then you just stay out of the dust, you'll be fine. So Star Kid, come on safari. You might sneeze once or twice, but other than that you'll be fine. Right, we're approaching quarantine clearings where I'm expecting a lion kill to be in progress. I am, of course, being facetious. I'm not expecting there to be a lion kill in progress. There might be a lion kill in progress. There might be a lion. There's not a great deal going on as far as I can tell. Let's drive our way around. It is a glorious night. Beautiful temperature. I think the clouds will probably close over again, as they have done for the last few nights in a row. Byron Sorrell has managed to find himself an animal in infrared. Let's find out what it is.
James, we had the same idea as you. We've come out onto quarantine just to have a look to see if we find anything, and we found some wildebeest that have headed out into the clearing for the night. There's some Impala around here too, so all the wildebeest going out, lying down on the clearings. Can you see anything else? Looks like they've all moved. Let us continue and see what else we can find. So, what a lovely drive this afternoon. James having luck with the young leopard, Hosana. And then, what else? Jamie had a wonderful walk this afternoon, and I found a snake. And that was about it. Were there many elephant around this afternoon? I don't think so. I don't think there were many elephant. It's funny how that changes. I've actually just got a whiff of a potato bush. Now, that is one of my most favourite smells. Or just one of my favourite smells. One of my favourite smells. Potato bush. And you start smelling them, especially in winter. The cold air traps that smell down. Very strong smell. It smells like boiled or baked potato. Very, very lovely smell. Anyway, thank you to everybody for watching this afternoon. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you to the ladies in the final control, the voices in my head. Thanks James and Jamie and the cameraman, Senzo, and who else was out, and from myself, Byron, and Craig on camera. We'll see you all tomorrow morning for our sunrise safari. Have a wonderful day. Good night and goodbye everyone.